Hello students, welcome to Notebook. In this video lesson, we will learn about environmental concerns which relate to global politics. We will also study global commons and India's strategy towards environmental issues. Let us now begin. Contemporary world politics takes under its purview environmental issues as well. We will first understand what some of these issues and concerns are. Globally cultivable area is losing its fertility and is being razed to make way for urban settlements. Grasslands are overgrazed and water bodies have suffered resources depletion as well as pollution. A 2016 report of the United Nations Development Programme states that 663 million people in developing nations do not have access to clean water. This results in the death of more than 3 million children every year. Forests provide resources, help stabilize the climate and contain a majority of the world's biodiversity. However, forests are being rapidly cut down. This leads to displacement of people, loss of biodiversity, and destruction of habitat rich in animal and bird species. Ozone depletion is another major concern. The ozone hole in the Earth's stratosphere threatens ecosystem as well as human health and natural resources. Coastal pollution is also a reason for environmental deterioration. Coastal waters are polluted by human and land-based activities. If measures are not taken now, it will lead to further degradation of marine environment. These are issues that affect people globally. Thus, these concerns fall under the purview of world politics. The consequences of economic growth on the environment acquired a political nature from the 1960s. The Club of Rome, an international think tank, exposed the potential depletion of the Earth's resources due to a growing world population in the book Limits to Growth. International agencies began to take note and started holding international summits and conferences to study and combat these issues. In 1992, the United Nations held a conference on environment and development. This was held in Rio de Janeiro in June and is known as the Earth Summit. The summit was not only attended by 170 states, but many MNCs and NGOs as well. It was evident in this summit that the first world countries, known as the Global North, was concerned with the environmental issues of ozone depletion and global warming. However, the Global South, developing nations of Third World, was concerned with economic development and environmental management. The Rio Summit mentioned development practices in Agenda 21. This aimed to combine economic growth with the ecological responsibility. This is known as sustainable development. However, critics suggest that Agenda 21 focused more on economic growth than environmental conservation. Commons are resources shared by a community. Similarly, regions beyond the jurisdiction of one state require shared governance of the global community. These are known as res communis humanitatis or global commons. Examples of global commons would be the Earth's atmosphere, the ocean floor, outer space, and Antarctica. Agreements such as the Antarctic Treaty of 1959 and the Antarctic Environmental Protocol of 1991 had been signed to ensure the sharing of the resource. The ozone hole over the Antarctic, which was discovered by the 1980s, exposed in the problems of managing global commons. The history of outer activities further emphasizes the north-south inequalities in sharing global commons. Next, let us analyze the notion of common but differentiated responsibilities. The developed first world countries of the North want all countries to be equally responsible for environmental conservation. However, this is unfair on the developing third world countries of the South. It is evident that environmental degradation is mainly the result of industrial development of the developed countries. So isn't it only fair that a large part of the responsibility to undo the damage should lie with the developed countries of the North? This proposition was accepted in the Earth Summit in 1992. This is known as the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities.
In 1992, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, also spelled out the measures of protecting the climate according to differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities. The international agreement of the Kyoto Protocol aimed at cutting down greenhouse gas emissions. Gases like carbon dioxide, methane, hydrofluorocarbons, etc. contribute to global warming. However, the per capita emissions of developing countries such as India and China were relatively low. Thus, they were excused from the requirements of the Kyoto Protocol in 1997, set in accordance with the principle of the UNFCCC.
Common property resources belong to a group or community. They are entrusted with both rights and duties with respect to use, protection and maintenance of a natural resource. The sacred groves of South India are common property resources managed by traditional village communities. Let us now analyze India's stance on environmental issues. Critics of the Kyoto Protocol mention that soon India and China will be among the leading contributors of greenhouse gas emissions.
In accordance with the principle of the common but differentiated responsibilities, India believes that the responsibility of containing emissions lies with developed countries. According to the guidelines of the UNFCCC, economic and social development of developing countries should be prioritized above all else.
Nonetheless, there are discussions within the UNFCCC to impose restrictions on rapidly industrializing countries like Brazil, China, and India. India feels this is unfair, as India's per capita emission is quite low, and even by 2030, it would be considerably below the international average.
India ensures cleaner fuels for its vehicles through the National Auto Fuel Policy. It also passed the Energy Conversion Act of 2001 to ensure sufficient use of energy. The Electricity Act of 2003 ensures the use of renewable energy. India has also been keen on producing biodiesels and has one of the largest renewable energy programs. India also believes that the SAARC countries would share a common stance on major environmental issues to effectively combat them.
With that, students, we come to the end of the first part of the video lesson. In the next part of the video lesson, we will discuss environmental movements resource, geopolitics, and the rights of the indigenous people. Here's Team Notebook bidding you a warm goodbye. See you soon.